In the early morning of September the 15th, 1916, a strange sound came out of the fog, floating along the Somme River. It was a growing monotonous rumble, accompanied by metallic clanging. The sound grew until, finally, gigantic shapeless silhouettes resembling mythical monsters emerged from the fog. These seemingly unstoppable monsters advanced ceaselessly into the German trench defensive positions, spitting fire and crushing everything in their path.
In the German trenches in World War I, this guy's reaction must have been typical to the sight of this huge metal monstrosity slithering its way unstoppably across the battlefield with the common question, what is it?
This incredible beast is the first ever combat tank. It is the Mark I and the last remaining Mark I in the entire world, doing exactly what it was designed to do, break through the defences of the enemy lines.
And when you come to the Tank Museum in Bovington, this is one of the first things you see, and it sets the stage for the next 100 years of the tank.
It all started with an odd partnership between an expert in agricultural machinery and a Royal Navy Air Service engineer. Tritton and Wilson were attempting to solve a very practical problem: how to break the trench stalemate that had frozen the Great War for years. It occurred to them to use the common farm tractor as a base. They turned the tractor around, back to front. The engine was moved to the center of the vehicle, and the hull was covered with a sheet of steel. Thus was born Little Willie, the first tank.
So we are now surrounded by the first generation of tanks.
We've got the Mark II, the Whippet and the Renault FT-17. But taking pride of place in the middle, Little Willie.
The progenitor of them all, the first demonstrated to be somewhat successful tank, and I do say somewhat successful.
A result of the Landship Committee formed by Sir Winston Churchill.
Which, being a naval organisation, led to all the naval terms you associate with a tank today, like the bow, the hatch, the sponson, and so on.
But there were problems with Little Willie, and the main issue and why we never saw it past this was the tracks. It wasn't fit for purpose. The tracks just couldn't cope with what it was designed for, crossing these obstacles.
No, in terms of the soft ground, the tracks worked fine, but when you got to the trenches, it couldn't do it, which is what led then to the rhombus design, which we commonly associate with World War I tanks today.
The machine adopted a long diamond-shaped hull to better accomplish its primary goal, breaching and crossing trenches. The idler wheels on the vehicle were lifted up as high as possible and prevented the tank from creeping down the trench, while the sprocket wheels were put as far back and low as possible. In the end, what emerged were small, land-based ironclad battleships equipped with casemate weapons, the first tanks deployed in battle.
We're now outside with this incredible replica of the Mark IV, and the first thing you notice is it's not a quick vehicle.
No, this is combat speed. About 6 kilometers an hour, 4 miles an hour. But if you're looking at it from the viewer's perspective as a German, you see this thing inexorably coming towards you, spitting fire from the guns. This is a significant emotional event.
It must have been absolutely terrifying. What it does give to us, though, is a great outline of the rhomboid shape, of course allowing it to go over obstacles much easier.
Trenches, barbed wire, that sort of thing. You got shortened 6-pounders. Not as long as the earlier ones in the Mark I.
And a Lewis gun on the other side here on the sponson. And of course the other differences between this, the Mark IV and the Mark I, was the armour, greatly improved over the Mark I.
Not that it'll stop much except small arms still, but a better chance. The sponsons, you'll see, will actually slide in for rail transport.
And the other biggest difference, of course, was the engine on the Mark IV as opposed to the Mark I.
Which is relocated, but to see that, we got to go inside.
It's almost 2 years since the Russian Empire joined the war. The country's economy is in ruins. The people dream of peace, but the war becomes ever more severe.
Хлопцы, давайте быстренько выгружайте. Откуда снарядики? Нам на помощь. Что нового там? Укрытие! Орудие! Стрельба только по моему приказу.
Gas attacks are widespread, proving that science can be turned to mass killing. The soldiers are beginning to lose their fighting spirit and their belief in the Tsar's policies. Discontent is growing and will soon trigger great revolutionary changes.